Donald Trump? The name alone stirs up controversy, but this time he's really done it. He wants to reopen Alcatraz. Yes, you heard that right. The most infamous prison in American history. The Rock.
On May 4th, 2025, Trump dropped this bombshell on Truth Social into a gaggle of bewildered reporters. His plan? To turn Alcatraz into a super prison for America's most ruthless and violent offenders. Why? Because apparently, radicalized judges are letting these criminals off easy.
Needless to say, the reactions were priceless. Nancy Pelosi, never one to mince words, called it not a serious proposal. California officials practically choked on their lattes. Governor Gavin Newsom dismissed it as a distraction. Senator Scott Wiener went further, calling it absurd.
But Trump, being Trump, doubled down. He ordered federal agencies to get cracking on reopening a substantially enlarged and rebuilt Alcatraz. This is going to be good.
Alcatraz. Just the name conjures up images of cold steel bars, unforgiving guards, and desperate inmates plotting their escape, but it wasn't always that way. Originally, Alcatraz was just a little island in the middle of San Francisco Bay.
Then in 1850, the U.S. Army saw its potential, not for a theme park, mind you, but for something a little more fortified. They turned it into a military prison.
For decades, Alcatraz held captive Confederate soldiers, unruly troops, and even some poor souls accused of espionage during the Spanish-American War. But in 1934, things got real. Alcatraz got a makeover. It became a federal penitentiary. With its new designation as a federal pen, Alcatraz transformed into America's most feared lockup. This wasn't your run-of-the-mill prison. This was the big leagues. The Alcatraz brochure should have read, "Have you been a very bad boy? Welcome to hell."
And boy, did it house some characters. Al Capone, public enemy number one, spent his waning gangster days there. George Machine Gun Kelly, a name that needs no explanation, called Alcatraz home. And then there was Robert Stroud. You might know him as the Birdman of Alcatraz. Ironically, he wasn't allowed to keep birds at Alcatraz. Bureaucracy, am I right?
These weren't just hardened criminals, they were legends. Their crimes, their personalities, and their very presence on Alcatraz captivated the public. It was like a real-life crime drama, playing out on a rock in the middle of San Francisco Bay. For almost 3 decades, Alcatraz stood as a symbol of America's unyielding justice system. But by the early 1960s, the tide was turning. The rock was starting to crumble, both literally and figuratively. The salt water was eating away at the buildings. The place was a money pit.
It cost 3 times more to keep an inmate on Alcatraz than in any other federal prison. Taxpayers weren't thrilled. And the truth was, Alcatraz was losing its edge. The isolation that once made it so formidable was now working against it. Getting supplies to the island was a logistical nightmare. Communication was a pain.
In 1963, the decision was made. Alcatraz, the once mighty fortress, was closed. The Birdman flew away. The reign of terror was over, or was it?
Section 5. Escape from Alcatraz, the mystery that endures. Alcatraz may have closed its doors, but it wasn't done making history. In fact, its most enduring legend was yet to come.
In June of 1962, 3 men pulled off the impossible. They escaped: Frank Morris, John Anglin, and Clarence Anglin. Their names would forever be etched in Alcatraz lore.
Their daring escape, meticulously planned and executed, captured the public's imagination. They chipped away at the prison walls with spoons and whatever else they could get their hands on.
They built a raft out of raincoats. They even made dummy heads to fool the guards. Did they make it? The FBI says no. The frigid waters, the currents, it would have been a miracle. But the evidence is inconclusive.
Rumors persist, legends never die, and Alcatraz had its greatest story yet.
The Birdman of Alcatraz is one of the most infamous inmates in the history of the prison. His story is both tragic and fascinating. But the question remains, should we celebrate or condemn his legacy?
Robert Stroud, known as the Birdman of Alcatraz, spent 54 years in prison, 42 of which were in solitary confinement. His case raises important questions about the nature of punishment and rehabilitation.
Reopening Alcatraz as a functioning prison presents a myriad of challenges. The infrastructure is outdated, and the cost of renovation would be astronomical. Plus, There's the question of whether it's ethical to use such a historic site for modern incarceration.
The logistics of reopening Alcatraz are indeed daunting. From the harsh conditions to the isolation factor, it's a complex issue that requires careful consideration.
Alcatraz stands as a haunting reminder of America's past. It's a symbol of our history of crime and punishment, but also of resilience and the human spirit. Visitors often feel a profound connection to the stories of those who were once imprisoned here.
The echoes of the past linger in the cold, damp cells of Alcatraz. Each corner of the prison tells a story, a piece of history that reminds us of where we've been and where we might be headed.
Alcatraz is more than just a prison. It's a symbol of the complexities of crime, punishment, and the enduring power of hope. Even in the darkest of places, the human spirit finds a way to persevere.
The legacy of Alcatraz is multifaceted. It's a place that embodies both the harsh realities of the penal system and the unbreakable will of those who endured it. As we reflect on its past, we also look to the future with a sense of hope and determination.